Welcome to LegacyCast, your source for hearing from top influencers and industry experts and successful business owners who are telling their unique story about life, values, goals, business strategies, and the various causes they are so passionate about. Future generations will come to be impacted by what is happening today, whether positive or negative, and our mission is to focus on what is going to affect change for the better. Hosted each weekday by James Snow, a former U.S. Army combat medic, now founder and principal advisor of James Advisors Group, a full-service financial planning firm in North Texas. This is LegacyCast. Welcome, LegacyCast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, and welcome you to the program today. I have a very exciting guest with me today, Jessica Tabbert, and she's the CEO of Gisele, and it's an awards or an event, an entertainment business. And so, I'm very excited to hear about the different things that's going on in her world, because here at LegacyCast, we like to hear what people are doing, to be able to spend their time, creating that story about their life, and creating that story the way that they want it to be, so that many generations from now get to hear, the things that they care about and what they're involved in. And so it sort of gives us that little, snippet of immortality, if you will. And so, without any further delay, I'd like to welcome Jessica to the program. Welcome, Jessica.
Hi, thanks for having me, James.
And so Jessica was telling me just before we came on the program, she also is a veteran, which I certainly thank you for your service, and she's a milspouse, which is kind of interesting because her husband's still serving our country, so that's an outstanding thing. And she served in two different branches, which is a little bit interesting because most of us are sort of one-minded, but she's an overachiever, so she decided to jump branches there and go Army and Air Force. So that's just absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
And done a bit of hopping around, and as it is with serving our great country. So Jessica, when we're talking about legacy, just kind of on the surface level here. Legacy means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And, for me, obviously, with me being a financial planner, it's kind of, it takes on a flavor of, the financial legacy. But for other people, for example, school teachers, they think about an educational legacy, passing on, knowledge to the next generation. What does it mean for you personally?
The very first thing that comes to my mind with the word legacy is family. I am extremely blessed to be part of a large family. My family is massive. I myself have 4 children, and they are part of my why, like why I do everything I do. I want to leave them in a better financial standing. Talking about your financial planning background, I want to leave them in a better financial standing than I came up with, and I also want them to have access to things that I didn't have access to. But I also want, on the other end of that, the legacy isn't just about money. Legacy is also about enrichment and fulfillment and life enjoyment. And I want them to have the freedom to enjoy their lives, which, excuse me, some of us don't realize that until we're old, until we're
right.
Way up in years, that life is more than just go to work, get a paycheck, grinding, and you don't really take the time to enjoy your life. So the legacy I want to leave for my kids is that they can accomplish anything they want, and I want them to do that and have joy while doing it.
Sure, that's great. And I like that you mentioned that for some people, they just go to work and they grind and so forth. It's part of what I call the big lie, that you don't have to have it that way. You don't have to just do the 9 to 5 and spend your life just grinding for someone else's dreams, but right. Instead, to spend that energy, working on your own. And so, I love that you had that as part of your perspective. And in fact, you were telling me that part of what your legacy involves, with the events and entertainment that you do with your business, because you both do the entertainment side and the culinary side of the two sides of the coin, which is pretty cool because I love food. So, but you have an awards program that you're going to be doing at the Hard Rock Stadium there. So that's pretty huge that you're doing something, again, giving back to the veterans, that you're passing that, and you're able to sort of pay it forward to our service members, and that's a great thing.
Thank you. The awards is excuse me, is an opportunity for, it's not really just about giving back to the veteran community. It's more than that. South Florida is an incredible place to live if you are a veteran. It's very unique in that we don't have what one would consider a traditional military base here. We don't have, the Fort Braggs or the Fort Meads or the Air Force bases of the world here in this area. We have Southcom, we have Sock South, we have Homestead, and there's not really the same type of presence here that you would experience in some of the other larger bases that I mentioned. Yet, despite that, there's a massive military community here and a massive presence of veterans and military spouses and veteran service organizations. And this awards is an opportunity to tell those people, regardless of if they've served themselves in the military capacity, to tell them thank you for the service that they give to this massive military community down here. The partnership with the Hard Rock Stadium is a blessing. It is an amazing thing that they're willing to come in and allow me to use this gorgeous space to host this event. But it's also an opportunity to create community around a beloved sports team. The Dolphins have a legacy of contributing to the military community for the last 60 years or so. And so this is just me trying to, neatly package all of that up in an event that happens over Veterans Day weekend, where everybody can say, thank you to each other. Thank you to South Florida. Thank you to the Dolphins. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's a big thank you fest, which is what Veterans Day is supposed to be about, in my humble opinion.
Sure. That's awesome. And, it's a great event there. We here in North Texas, we have a very large veteran community too. So, I can see how, something like this would just be, an outstanding opportunity, all the way around. So, kudos for that one, because that's a really, really good thing that you have going. And, I certainly wish you all the best with that particular venue. So when you're thinking about legacy, and you've kind of reached in and out of the conversation there a little bit with it, do you feel like it's an important thing that everyone consider what they're doing that's going to impact their legacy?
Yes. I'm sure you've heard the saying, "Youth is wasted on the young," right? Mm-hmm. So when I was younger, I didn't really think about my legacy at all, like not even a little bit. There were things that I wanted to do, go to college. I joined the military when I was, I think I actually enlisted when I was 17 and did the delayed entry thing. But, there were just little things, but I didn't think about it in terms of legacy. I thought of everything in terms of right then and there. One thing I'm trying to pass on to my children, who were instrumental in helping me see that legacy was important, is that, yes, there is now, and you should definitely appreciate the now. I'm a proponent for mindfulness, but you should also take into consideration your future and what you're leaving behind. So I think it's very important to impart that wisdom to people in general, leaving a legacy. And I think nowadays, you're onto something here, James, with this focus on legacy, because it seems to be pervasive, at least in the people that I know, where people are really looking at what they leave behind in terms of more than just wealth. They're looking at what education they leave behind and what experiences they leave behind. And that's why I think it's such an important thing that you're drawing attention to that. Like, hey, what is your legacy? What are you leaving behind? And legacy isn't even necessarily something that is there after you're gone. You can have a legacy while you're still on this earth. And that's something Absolutely. That's a new concept to me. So yes, it's extremely important to me that I consider legacy, and I try to encourage people around me to do the same.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I like that you're mentioning, that you can do it, while you're still alive, because that's such a key component to it, because it's not just about what you're leaving behind. There's still a lot of life left, and
Yeah.
and the being part of what you're building is such a huge component that I'm very very passionate about the living benefit side of it, as opposed to just just the other side of it, because it's really nice to leave something, but it's even better to be part of it, and be able to take
Yeah.
part of that, and share it, share it with your family, share it with your children, share it with the close friends and family that you have around you, the community that you have around you, to be part of that, because that's going to be part of the story that's passed on as well. Is
Exactly.
how you're incorporated in it.
Exactly.
So how do your views on legacy and your own plans for a legacy affect what you do in your business?
Well, I'm a dream big kind of person. So the events the ones that I create, the ones I come up with on my own, tend to be a little bit larger than life in my head, and I aspire to do large, big, creative, fun events, while at the same time also paying attention when I have a client and they bring me an event concept that they want to execute. I also try to look at what are they trying to create in their event. So I want my legacy with my business to be that I pay attention to my clients and what they need, and more than what I need, and that I also am able to execute a vision beyond the initial what you see. I love, 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 love going into a space that is empty, or a space, into a venue that is not yet has not been moved around for my purposes, and I try to envision what the event will look like. And I love doing that because to me, it's just possibilities. It's just, until we actually execute the event, it's just possibilities. And when you take something that's just a concept and you make it a real thing, there's legacy in that too. Honestly, there's like, how do you take
Sure.
an idea on paper and turn it into a thing people go to and actually have a good time, and actually, enjoy themselves? Because I'm so sure that there have been people who plan events and, either nobody shows up or nobody has fun, and it's just that sucks your soul. So I want part of my legacy to be that I'm able to create things that are fun and exciting and beautiful, and that my clients feel heard, and that their guests feel
Right.
heard. That's I think that's a huge part of the legacy piece of my business.
And in a way, you yourself are helping people to create their legacy, through your events, because their story is being heard with the event that you're creating. So you're
Yeah.
you're helping to craft legacies in your own right.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Thanks for that. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You're in the same business I am. So from the CEO standpoint, we all have those few things that sort of keep us up at night. What are a couple things that still haunt you, in the wee hours, about your business?
Oh man. So there's a few things, obviously. Like you said, we all have them. So I just started an MBA at Babson College, and the workload is it's not hard by any stretch of the imagination. It's challenging in that it requires me to not multitask. So I have to set time aside to actually spend focused energy on my studies. And I just finished undergrad. I graduated from Johnson & Wales University just this past May 2018. And I immediately, I took the summer, I guess I took the summer off, as they would say, but that's not a real thing because I have kids. So I started school straight away a week ago. And it's such a different world than undergrad was. And so if I were to answer your question directly and say, what keeps me up at night, it's just making sure that I give this degree the time and the energy that it deserves. I'm very, very fortunate in that I got a full scholarship to Babson for this degree.